Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the psychic swamp. There are people who live in areas, in neighborhoods, around people that suck all the energy out of innovation and black excellence. So when I speak about the psychic swamp, I'm speaking about the final resting place of innovation, the final resting place of black excellence. I was recently watching this documentary, and it's called Driving While Black. It's a really good documentary. But it talks about how even during the most oppressive times, the Negro found a way to rise above all and still flourish. And it's customary for a lot of people to think of the area in history before the modern times, before the 1970s, as a time where it was just straight oppression and nobody had a good time. The only time that anybody had a good time is when they went to a music show or they went to church, and then they came back home and it was just
miserable
in the water. No, man, no. So, there was a place called Idlewild, and the Outcast movie of the same name is based on this resort that black people would go to have their little vacation or whatever. Like, they would drive to this place and they would go water skiing, they would go horseback riding, they go fishing. These are musical acts that would come to this place and perform. It was like the Catskills for black people. So,
hey, there's another movie like that. Remember, we were kids. Remember the movie called The Inkwell? That was like a black beach.
Yep.
Or even now, you've heard us talk on past episodes about that beach out in L.A. or Long Beach that was returned.
And
to
they just got
family.
the ownership of that property back.
Yeah, $300 million back, and it was just crazy. But just the idea that we only got persecuted and we never had a good time, or we never flourished, one of the biggest weapons we got against shit like that is black comedy. And I think that on the flip side, the Jews talk about it, and the Jews have made a lot of money on their comedic writing and their comedic style coming from an oppressed situation, which of course they talk about the Holocaust. But as black folks, we did the same thing, and I don't think people give us credit for it. Even Richard Pryor, some of our funniest comedians are based on heartache and hardship. Richard, what made Richard Pryor special, even when he got famous, he still had problems. Most comedians, like most singing artists or rappers or whatever,
they're flawed people
to begin with. But then they start getting money, and people don't realize their problems change. Many of them embrace it and like, okay, all right. And later on, we're going to use a term going to Hollywood later on. And some people can relate, some people make it out, some people cool, but Rich, that nigga always had problems to the very end.
Okay, so check this out. A swamp in the area between the ocean and the swamp is called an estuary. And so an estuary is where the brackish water, this salt water, this water with this high mineral and salt content comes together. And you have all this weird stuff in this brackish water. Weird creatures and all types of salacious activity, actually. And so in these estuaries, you really can't grow anything. Nothing grows there. Nothing really grows there because of the high salt content, high mineral content of the land because of the water. So nothing can grow there. It's this marshy, swampy area, and nothing can really grow there, right? The only thing that you can really get from there is aquatic life. So if there are any native people in the area, they would go and they would fish and like live off the mussels and the clams and the crawdads and like the water creatures. But there's nothing that can really grow there, really, except maybe rice. But you don't see a lot of rice cultivated near estuaries. So the reason why I'm using this
term.
this as a metaphor is because there is there is this idea that if you want to better yourself when you're around certain people, then you're considered, you stand out. And what I'm talking about is that the people that, if you're around a group of people and they're not looking to better themselves, or they're content with a certain way of living, there is a mentality, there is a fog of dead orgone energy that just, like a pall that just hangs over that area. And when you go into certain areas, you get this vibe, you get this feeling. And it's an idea, it's a feeling of defeat. And so that's a psychic swamp. But that psychic swamp, it, like the waterways that curve through these areas, there's different bends and turns in the way these psychic swamps manifest.
Look, the thing that when you're talking about this brackish water, this estuary, as you put it, you this is a place where you have freshwater fish and aquatic fish from the ocean. They come animals that normally don't come together will come together, and you'll have a meeting. And sometimes, what makes it odd is that you got animals who are saltwater trying to get to the freshwater, and you got animals in the saltwater trying in the freshwater, and they both act like where I was is not as good as where I'm going. And that's kind of thing that you run into when you see this psychic swamp in the real world. You got people who don't normally engaging each other. And it makes for unique bedfellows. And you're going to see that sometimes some people don't realize what they're doing, or some people don't care, or some people think they're better because they're coming from this area. Well,
check it out. The way these things manifest in the real world is that you see people from rich neighborhoods come to the ghetto to buy drugs, or they come down there looking for prostitutes.
That's so fun. I remember, craziest thing, I was having a conversation with a white dude. This is a complete weed head. And since he works for the railroad, he would get bounced around to different areas. And he's like, man, in St. Louis, they got an open air drug market. I'm like, okay, cool. That's a term that white folks use for where they just sell drugs, and my dumb ass didn't realize he was asking me where that was in Omaha. I'm literally not getting what the dude's asking, because I've never heard nobody use that term other than television. You dig? So somebody's like, hey man, do you need open air drug market? I'm like, what the fuck? We got a farmer's market, but and so that's what it was. He wanted to know where in the hood can he go to get some good shit, whether it was weed, very white, super white. Yeah. But like I said, I've only heard that. But then
when somebody come to me with some shit like that, I'm like, hey, well, okay, perhaps you can tell me where I can buy some crystal meth, because I don't know where to buy that shit in the black neighborhood.
Nigga, fuck that. Tell me where I can buy some nuclear weapons. Where can I get a bazooka?
No. Tell me how I can get in on some white collar crime. How about we trade?
But that's the whole point, was that I'm so naive sometimes, because first things first, I'm at work. So it's one thing.
Listen. At work, you got your
different context altogether. You dig?
No. And you're on the phone, so you got your white people voice on the phone.
Dude, so you understand why.
That goes back to our show, Shifting Gears. If y'all have not ever heard our show, Shifting Gears, go back in the archives and listen for the show called Shifting Gears, because it's somewhat related to our show, Workplace Blackness. But go ahead.
Look, I am a square. I'm not a full-blown square nigga, but
you're pretty square. Yeah, you're like a rhombozoid, motherfucker. But you've always been like that.
Octagon, nigga. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? And so, also, when people, sometimes when people ask you a question, where you are makes a big difference of how you respond. Do you remember this back in the day when people used to make fun of they were trying to call Shaq dumb, and it pissed me off so much, because I'm like, dude, it's a white dude asking a white question. Fuck you. I'm sorry, fuck you, white man. And so they had asked Shaq about the Parthenon in Greece, and Shaq was doing something. He's like, man, I don't go to clubs. And they're like, see, he's dumb. Like, no, first things first. What the fuck are you doing asking me about ancient Greece when I'm sitting here, drinking a Gatorade? So when they asked that question, because there was a club in Oman called the Parthenon. There's clubs, and it's a name, just a general name they use for clubs whenever somebody wants to be trendy. And so when the guy asked Shaq this question, Shaq assumed he was asking about going out in the nightlife. Shaq,
Hello.
like, hey,
was he in Omaha?
No. It was someplace else. Oh. But like I said, I've been in 3 or 4 different cities where they have a club called the Parthenon. This is back in the '90s, nigga. You know what I'm saying? And so that was their chance of poking fun at Shaq, saying he's not an intelligent person.
Oh, that was their gotcha question.
Yeah, you slide that question in. You asked me 9 questions about basketball, then you asked me a question about ancient Greece.
See, the way you avoid shit like that is you say, just use one word, elaborate.
but like I said, this is like I said, this is in, I don't want to lie, maybe late '90s, and so the whole thing is a context question. Well, that's what happened with me when dude asked me about an open air drug market. One, I've only heard that term on 2020.
No, that's not a term. If somebody says some shit like that to him, like, okay, so when did you join the force? And dude, when did you come out of the academy?
That is a complete.
No, you just throw that type of shit right back in their fucking face, and like, how long you been a cop?
So, I'm gonna give you another example of that happening in college. So I went to a black college, right? And so we're nestled between 2 white universities. I went to Langston. It's in Oklahoma. So you got Stillwater in you got Oklahoma State, OSU in Stillwater, and then you got OU in Norman. Now, Norman is much farther away, but Stillwater was literally maybe 15, 16 miles away, maybe 20 miles away. And so you would get these white dudes would show up in cars on campus like, hey, looking for weed, looking for drugs. And you're like, for real? And so I'd be a dick.
They would go to Langston to buy dope?
Yes. They would. These are people who knew nothing about dope, you could tell.
Go to the Black Skull. They've got it. So they would show up. And my dumb ass would make them follow me around campus, just doing dumb shit, going through bushes, and like, man, this way, follow me. And I was just an asshole about it because it's funny to me. I just remember Richard Pryor talking about white people coming to the hood for drugs, or his grandmother ran a hoe house, and he even talks about it in what's Live and Smoking, where, like I said, people said he bombed, but this motherfucker was talking about his mom giving him blowjobs. This nigga was talking about some crazy shit, and so you see that there's a context, there's a location, and people assume the worst about black communities or black situation, and it's annoying when somebody would come all this way to exploit you. So my vision or how I see the shit looks different. So on the same token, like I was saying, when somebody asked me a question about drugs at work, and I literally work for a place where you can't use drugs at all, my mind was like, I don't know what the fuck. That's where all the drugs be at. Thing is, your black ass don't know where it's at because you want to keep your job. But go and talk to Jeff in accounting, and he'll be like, what do you need? I've got all kind of shit.
Talk to white folks. Y'all, see, when I was a manager, I learned all the rules to drugs that I didn't even know. Like, literally, alcohol is in your system for 12 hours. Cocaine is in your system for 9 hours. And I'm learning, because I had to drug test people. And so I'm learning this shit, and I'm like, you learn right away. That's why white folks get away with cocaine. It's not for the reason you think. You think, oh, it's a white drug. No, cocaine is literally in your system for 9 hours. You can do cocaine in the morning. It be out of your system by 10 o'clock in the evening. So that's one reason that people get away with cocaine. It's not just the fact that they're white and it's a white drug. It's the fact that it's not in your system that long. Now, look at weed.
No. That's one of the perks, motherfucker. Don't get it twisted. That's a perk of doing a white drug.
Excuse me. That is a perk. That is correct. Then we all know weed is in the fat cells. It can be in your system up to 30 days. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, because that shit's medicine. It's fucking healing your ass. That's what. Continue.
So, but this is what we're talking about when you talk about psychics. I'm literally at work in a suit and tie, working my ass off. White dude goes, "Hey, duct tape. Do you know?" I'm like, again, like I said, this is what we're talking, because we're two creatures that came into contact with each other that don't normally come into contact with each other. And, is it mutually beneficial? It's more like a symbiotic relationship. I got no benefit from the situation.
All right. So a psychic swamp can be generated by circumstance as well. So in right now, you have a resurgence of crime amongst young black men. It died down for a while, and it started to like really rear its head again with the certain type of like music and drugs that were being spread around. And so now you're seeing these little kids that are like 13 and 14, excuse me, these 13, 14-year-old kids that are just shooting people and their access to guns is basically on the level that it was of 1990, 1991, when the Crip and Blood situation across America was out of fucking control. But see, the gang affiliation really isn't the motivation anymore. These little boys just want to go and just shoot motherfuckers for thrills and just
they
want
to rep. Just to get a rep. They're not doing it.
Listen, it's not for
financial gain.
No. It's not for that financial gain, but it's also not for gang affiliation. Like there is some growth in these gangs, but really like these little motherfuckers just want to go out and shoot motherfuckers because they can. Because they have the ability to, and because they've been numb to this shit playing video games.
Do you remember the interview on Arsenio Hall when he was interviewing Bill Cosby? And he kind of was brushing off Bill like Bill didn't know what he's talking about. He's like, nah. And Bill kind of gets mad, like, man, you only sell drugs on your turf. He said Crips and Bloods are still about turf. It's still about where the area that you regulate, even though you may not own it. And Bill kind of broke it down like, so when do the Bloods sell outside the Bloods area? He's like, no. He said, well, then he said it don't matter if it's 1963 or 1996. It's always going to be about turf in the area that you run and what you do in that area. And for the Crips and Bloods back then, in the late 90s, mid 90s, excuse me, it was all about drugs. It was about, and you would see them relocate to other areas and take over that area.
It's because the CIA was bringing bringing it into LA through Rick Ross. And they are moving it across the country, you know what I'm saying, through their networks that they set up in all these different towns with these gang-affiliated groups. But
the other thing that we always hear about the drug dealer in the worst-case scenario, but there were drug dealers that got away, and you always got to wonder how that happened. Everybody talks about Frank Lewis, but what about Frank Matthews?
Frank Matthews is the guy that nobody ever talks about because this guy was balling out of control. He had a huge trafficking network. But listen, I don't want to divert too long into the drug game because really I want to focus on this is more of like a social psychosomatic problem, this psychic swamp. So check this out. Hang on, man. So this is the thing. So in these neighborhoods, this artificial environment, this terraformed psychosis, if you will, is something that has been put upon a group of people through institutional racism. And so then the offspring of these people, for example, you had the crackheads of the 80s had babies, and then the grandbabies of crackheads are what you see now. These are the grandbabies of crackheads. So then the grandbabies of crackheads are grown as genetic mutations, not in a cool Wolverine healing factor, I got claws kind of way.
No, these motherfuckers can't sit still,
and
they make funny noises.
they don't have the proper neural networks in their brain to function properly, and so that's why these things sound the way they do. But hold on, wait. I need to make my point. And so, what it creates is a ripple effect of problems that are created. Now, the psychic swamp is the barometric pressure of this environment that's been created through this ripple effect of crack cocaine, institutional racism, this slave master police, police tradition. And so what it creates is a flat earth type of setting.
Theory.
Where not theory, a flat earth type of dome setting. So here's this is crazy because black people was living flat earth before some white boys on 4chan came up with this as a fucking troll to get people talking about it. And when I say black people was living flat earth, black people were forced into this dome prison planet mentality. Okay, so flat Earth basically says the Earth is on a flat surface and there's a dome over it, keeping people from going into space. All right, what does that sound like? That sounds like a world
Plantation.
that a
It's a
black
plantation
person
mentality.
who is psychologically enslaved lives on. So this whole flat Earth bullshit ain't new, but I don't subscribe to that. So this is what I'm telling you, is that when people allow themselves to be placed into the sunken place and remain there and don't want to get up out of it, that is a psychic swamp. And so then you have areas in these towns where little boys are just running shit. Little boys are running shit. When I say running shit, they have intimidated older people. I'm talking about guys that carried rifles in wars are intimidated by little boys that don't go to the range, that don't have shooting skills. And so you have these situations where these little boys basically police the streets in their own way. I'm talking about towns that don't have enough police to solve the problem. So then you have these situations where it's a Wild West scenario. And then you have so imagine this Wild West scenario. What is that type of living like for the people that have been there for generations, who have watched their neighborhoods deteriorate from people who are educated and they paid their dues in life and they put up with a bunch of bullshit for years, to have the grandbabies of crackheads running around, shooting up shit, scaring everybody, killing people by accident. That's a psychic swamp.
Look, the reason I brought up Matthews was just the fact that he had to sell drugs in the middle of, when you're told that you got the mafia running everything, and nah, you don't. You literally have somebody who is in the middle of corporate America and mafia and all this evil shit, and he excelled. You know, when you think of this psychic swamp, you think of all the negative things. And the people do shine, people do make it out the thing. It's really frustrating when we talk about, so we had talked about this before, and we talk about how these grandkids and these basically, they weren't on crack, but they still felt the feel of crack. Going back to the heroin of the 50s and 60s, you know, just because you don't use doesn't mean that you're not affected by it. And we're not just talking about the effects in the community. We're talking about physical effects. And sometimes people are addicted to stuff they don't even know about. And so you got these people now making decisions. And we always talk about the rap music because that's a prime example. When you look at this rap music, don't get me wrong, the industry is pointing it in a direction that's negative, but these motherfuckers ain't talking about shit. As Pimp C, where's the social commentary, as Pimp C would say? And you don't have that anymore because it's true the record industry is putting it in a certain direction, but then these kids ain't talking about shit anymore. You know, they literally talking about just shooting, spot them, got them, and it's ridiculous. But that doesn't mean that we can't fix it. We can't persevere. We can't make it out of this shit. You see a lot more rappers now who are much more financially educated than they are socially educated. They understand the business. They understand how to get their money, but they still don't understand the effect that they have on the broader community.
Okay, but look at the way this is viewed from the other side of the table, from the record executives or the people who run these radio stations, and they have somebody that tells them, "We'll play this music. This music is about black people killing black people, black men killing black men. Will you play this?" Of course, there's a market for that. But what about the molestation of children? And what about like women being raped and all that? Will you play music about that? No. But you'll play this music about these black men killing each other. Yes, because we can make money off of that. Because because those people have conditioned to want that.
Well, no, it's not just that.
Yeah, no. People have been conditioned to want that.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, why is that more acceptable on the radio?
Because that is institutional racism.
No, I know
that
why.
is the purposeful psychosomatic terraforming of a demographic and neighborhood of people.
But it can be easily fixed. Old boy talks about Rick Ross. He said, like, Rick Ross is talking about shooting people for years, playing their money, playing his music on all these radio stations. But the second Rick Ross talked about date rape, where he says, I slipped her a Molly and did something to her, Pepsi dropped him, Reebok dropped him, all these different, because, well, no. Date rape is a big deal. So you don't mind me talking about killing niggas, killing black men and shit like that. But if I mention something, and that's what's so subtle about that's the nuance to racism. Look. How we got started on this subject off of air, there were a couple incidents that took place where we're talking about them, and we're like, look, man, and I don't know which one you want to start with.
We'll start with Ryan Coogler.
Okay.
Ryan Coogler, dumbass, went into a bank in Atlanta. The reason why he's not even from Atlanta, he doesn't live in Atlanta, but he is here at Pinewood Studios in Fayetteville, shooting the sequel to Black Panther. Let me just sidebar something real quick. Everybody was like, a lot of people agreed they shouldn't make another movie. And everybody's all like, including him, was like, Chadwick Boseman is irreplaceable, blah, blah, blah. The whole time, the motherfuckers was like planning to make a sequel. All they had to do was just let like it run through the news cycle so everybody would forget about Chadwick Boseman. But now, excuse me, they're all good with, making another movie and shit because that taste is out of people's mouth. Whatever.
It's too much money. Too much money on
So that's this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So that's who he is. This is a guy who made money off of Black Tragedy, Fruitvale Station. Okay, fine. He made a movie off of that shit. All right, cool. So now this dumb motherfucker is in Atlanta shooting a movie, and he goes into a bank, and he's wearing a hoodie, a skull cap, sunglasses, and a mask because of course, coronavirus. And then he gets a deposit slip, and he writes on the deposit slip, I'm going to withdraw this amount of money, and I want you to count the money in another place to be discreet. Nigga, you're discreet already. Nobody can tell who you are. But this is where you fucked up. Wait. This is where you fucked up. You fucked up by walking in there dressed like a motherfucker that would rob the place. You're black, dude. No matter if you make $2 or you make $1 million, it doesn't matter. You do not walk in there wearing that bullshit, writing some shit on a fucking piece of paper like a motherfucking bank robber would. First of all, no. Now I got to get this all out. I got to get this shit all out.
You left the part with the police out.
Hold on. This is what I'm saying, man, is that, okay, I'm not talking to you motherfuckers that cash checks and you don't have bank accounts. I'm not talking to you dumb motherfuckers. Get a bank account. Stop dealing with that fucking institutional slavery shit. Listen, when you get a fucking bank account and you're an adult and you go to a bank, and if you go to a bank that you go to on a regular basis, you develop relationships. People get used to seeing you. You might laugh and talk shit with the tellers.
They know you by your first name.
The manager knows you. The loan officer knows you. You spend time in there. Whether you go in there once a month or a couple times a month, it doesn't matter. But you're in there, and it's a business transaction. You're developing these business relationships because these people are holding your money. So if you are going into a new location or a new branch where they do not know you, even though it's still your bank and your money is being held by that institution, you still need to build a bridge with those people because that's common sense. Listen, if they've never seen you before, don't completely cover yourself up. Look, man, I understand that you want to be, incognito, but bruh, nobody knows who the fuck you are. Go walk around the streets of Atlanta and ask 20 people who he is last week. Maybe 4 might know who he is. Maybe. But see, the thing is that motherfuckers, they don't even know what this dude looks like. And so your whole Little Richard fiasco dressing up so nobody fucking know you doing that Michael Jackson thing. Hey, man.
It worked.
It worked. Nobody knew who the fuck you were. And guess what? You got way more than you expected. You dumb motherfucker,
okay. You didn't tell the whole story. So, of course, the teller was put off by this and was scared.
She's a black woman.
And you said she was pregnant. I didn't even know that part, but I read it on Vice News.
But this is the thing, though. She's a black woman, and she might have some fucking trauma.
Oh, she might have been robbed before. See, look.
And your
I've
ass
been,
coming in here wearing a fucking a bank robber get up, man. I'm like, dude.
look. I saw the
No,
pictures.
no, no, no. Here's another thing. This another thing. Hey, man. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. You around millionaire white motherfuckers. Take your ass to the whitest part of Atlanta and
And
just
try
walk
that
in
shit.
there with no hat on and no shades, and they won't know who the fuck you are. Nobody will know who the fuck you are.
Hey, obviously, Roscoe has been triggered by the incident. So,
Yeah, listen, because I don't suffer fools. I don't have patience for stupidity. Carry on.
okay. So, of course, the woman alerted the manager. The manager alerted the police. While he's standing there, two officers show up. Now, one draws his gun and puts it away quickly. There's body cam footage. Excuse me, body cam footage of the whole incident. And of course, he's like, I never treated like this before at any bank. He even cusses them out later on. Why the fuck? And so they also stopped the two people in the car. It was explained what was going on. He has some kind of special doctor. Like I said, he's literally on his Michael Jackson shit. Don't get it twisted. He has his own doctor who he pays $12,000 cash. Now, in my mind, first things first. I see what he had on. It wasn't that bad, but I'm not going to talk about the black part. I'm talking about the fact of the matter is that
Since when you pay a doctor cash, though?
That's why I say he's on his Michael Jackson shit. The last time I heard a nigga having his own doctor was Michael Jackson. So, but I digress. So, I feel personally, like me and Roscoe approach it from two different angles. Roscoe says he's being an idiot. I'm saying I thought the nigga was fishing. I thought he was looking for a racist situation to talk about because it made you relevant all of a sudden. Because this shit right here was weird as fuck, and it could have been handled very easily. But what made this shit go left was the damn note to me. When you read this note, it's some weird shit. And me and you had to talk. I said, look, I've been in a situation where if you take it out over $10,000, they'll ask. They've always told me, do you want to go over here to this? They have like a special room, like a rich nigga room, which I didn't know about until I started pulling out a lot of money. Like, yeah, would you like to go over here and count it? And I'm like, so what he asked for, he put a lot of shit into that one little note. I want to count it someplace else so nobody sees it and it's extra. I got.
Yeah,
what
but that's
going.
what. Okay, so they'll let you do that. You don't write that on a fucking note. So this motherfucker, this the crazy part, dude. Like, bro, like, you a millionaire. You should be used to this shit by now.
See, but here's the deal. He created his own problem. The bottom line, what we're saying, you created your own problem, but you can't scream racism when you do something dummism. Understand?
All right.
When you do something stupid.
That whole like virtue signaling, victim mentality, entitlement, that's a psychic swamp also. That's another bend in the river.
And so he created his own problem. Now, my thing is, did the cops need to draw a gun on him? Could this have been solved? And like I said, don't get me wrong. They overreacted, but they also reacted to the letter. I think this is more about that letter than it was about his physical appearance. And that they also stopped the two individuals that were in his vehicle. They spoke to them because they look like getaway. When you describe it, it described like a bank heist, my nigga, for real. Somebody sitting there, you got the driver sitting there keeping the car warm, still going, like he was going to run out and just jump in the car. So, like I said, did it need to have a weapon drawn? Probably not, because the cop put his gun away right away. There's body cam footage of the situation. But these are the things that take place when you have two creatures that don't belong together. You got this Hollywood nigga in the Deep South, and like I said, I'm sorry, I'm not saying the South ain't racist, but this is more about stupidity than it's about racism.
There you go.
This motherfucker created that situation, and you can't tell me that maybe he wasn't fishing for the shit, because I don't know. I'm not saying it's some Jesse Smollett shit. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that somebody made this shit up completely. No, I'm saying that with the right circumstances, you can create a racist situation. You could find somebody who feels that way, and this is what we mean when look. The other thing that me and you had talked about is that what happens when you encounter black people in an area where you're not supposed to encounter black people, whether it's professional, because sometimes, hell, we live in a white society. Sometimes you'll be at work and it's only 3 black people in the whole room and it's 100 people. You know what I'm saying? Like that situation is one of them where I described the white boy talking to me at work, or you're in a white part of town and you run into somebody black and they look down on you, or they get quiet like
Because
you're a
they want
creep.
to be the special special one.
Yeah,
They want to be the one that gets all the love and attention. They want to be the only child. That person, that sellout, sunken place person, wants to be the only child.
or they feel like they're the best because I'm here. I've accomplished something. And a
I'm
lot
the
of times,
special Negro.
but sometimes
I
they
will
didn't do it.
smite thee.
Sometimes it ain't the super nigga that's the problem. It's the offspring. You understand what I'm saying? Like Superman's kid is gay or bisexual. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with somebody who worked really hard and persevered, and now their kids are deriving benefit from it, but they don't deserve it. How many? Okay, I don't. This sounds so. I don't want to single nobody out, but hell, the bitch don't listen to podcasts. I don't give. So it's this chick I know had real good parents. She's black. I think her dad's from Trinidad or some shit, and she lives out west. Grew up privileged, but she's dumb as fuck. Can barely read. You know what I'm saying? Like,
What?
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, hey, read this, and she was like, she stumbles through it. I'm like, look, dude, you keep making it seem.
She faked it until she made it.
Yeah, well, she didn't. She never made it. You missed the.
Well,
the last part.
that's what I'm saying though. But if you got a job there, you're doing okay.
No, she don't have a job there. No. She's just somebody I know. I met her years ago when she was younger, and I'm like, she was hung her hat on everything. Like, hey, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, you're not successful. And when I said it, she gets offended. But I'm just trying to tell you, like, look, literally, you have great parents. You see these people with great parents who work really hard to provide education for their kids.
Oh, okay.
And this child never flourished. And whether I think she has two sisters, and I'm like, I don't know if she just got lost in the shuffle, but you have people. When I say this, people get really offended. Intelligence is an action. Nowadays, people declare themselves smart. I'm smart, but you ain't did shit smart. You haven't went. So that's what happens when you see these people with all these degrees, doctorates, masters, et cetera, but they don't do anything with them. That you can't just declare yourself smart. Intelligence is an activity. When you saw these old country niggas that ain't got no degree, or these old and they always did what they wanted. They were super intelligent, very illiterate. You wouldn't expect that, but that's the whole thing is they don't have a certificate to say they're intelligent. So you discount them. No, this chick right here went to the best schools in Omaha, and just got never really excelled. Has trouble getting employed, all this other shit. But hey, I went to school here. I did this. I'm like, yeah, you still living in high school. You hanging your hat on some shit that happened 20 years ago. And you really ain't excel, but you still live with your parents. Not that that could happen in this day and age right now. Shit's expensive. I dig it. It's one thing to live with your parents because of a financial situation. It's another thing to live with your parents because you never mentally made it out of high school and you're 37. That's a whole another ball game. And you have a lot of people, and and the reason I'm bringing that up is that's what happens when you run into these folks out west, which I live in Omaha. Out west is the primarily affluent white area. And if you're a black person, you come in contact with a lot of people, they just assume that you're dumb and you're just out here picking up something from the grocery store. Like you don't belong. And or they like you know what
You
I'm
just
saying.
work out here. Go back to the north side.
The bus stop is over there, that kind of shit. And you're like, what the fuck I need a bus for? And so these are the kind of situations that persist, that if you're of color, I'll give another example.
Chicago, hey, for those that don't know, Chicago's like that too. Chicago is the most segregated city in America.
Deeply segregated. I remember one time, a good friend of mine, I think I use his example, so please forgive me. So he just got a promotion in the company, and there's a training class, and of course there's only one black guy in there. And he kind of reminded me of you, because I said, because of circumstance, like, yeah, because I was the only black guy in our class together when we got hired. And he said the guy seemed smart, but he was having difficulty with information. I said, look, here's the deal. You got to understand.
That's why he reminded you of me?
No.
Okay.
That's not.
Continue. Just get to the point, please.
No, how he talked. And so I was like, look, here's what you got to understand about me. When you're black, you're half the time, especially in a business sense, you're the smartest person in the room. And many of us, because of that, we don't pay attention. Like literally, most material I figure out on my own. I don't learn shit from class. Well, you're in a class right now where you're literally dispatch. This is a dispatch class where you're literally like, dealing with different systems. I said, dude didn't pay attention. The first couple of weeks, he just didn't pay attention. He thought he just gonna pick it up. And I've seen black women do this a lot too. They just think that I'll pick it up, and they don't pay attention during training. I said, well, this you can't do that with this situation. I say, watch in 3 weeks, he'll figure it out. And sure enough, he said, yeah, dude started studying. But what it is that I explained it to the white guy. Like I said, when you're a black person and you're here, I'm already smarter than most people in the room. I had to bust my ass, deal with 3 or 4 different incidents that you don't even know about just to get here. And so I kind of fall back on my laurels. I expect that this is going to be some cliche bullshit, some cliche, white boy bullshit. I'm gonna figure it out and go on. But some things, there are literally places in this world where you encounter some shit that you got to pay attention to and actually use all your brain. And
it's
usually
mindfulness and being present. Your focus is called into question, and you have to initiate it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're doing what you've done like 1,900 times to get by. Like even when you were in honor classes, we were in a couple honor classes. So 3 black people. We're sitting in the back class, we're chuckling, laughing because we got this. And so you then what happens when you get to corporate America? The exact same thing happens. You're the smartest person in the room. People look down on you, and okay, I'll pay attention only when it's necessary. But every once in a while, your timing is off. It's like a joke. Your timing for a joke to work, your timing has to be on, and that's what happened. His timing was off. Nobody understands that as a black person that people don't pay attention to you. They think that you don't belong, and so you actually you're having this battle in your head, like this white motherfucker think I'm stupid, or these people don't. So you literally have a battle going on in your mind while you're doing that. You ain't paying attention to what's going on around you.
That's a psychic swamp.
So sometimes people don't understand prison ain't a physical place. Sometimes, and the reason I call it prison is because what happens when somebody's in prison? They get passed by. They literally get passed by life. I remember my homeboy when his uncle got out of prison. You know what that nigga said? Like, hey, young blood, how come everybody has a cell phone? I'm like, oh, goddamn, how long you been away? Like, because when he went away, a cell phone was something special. You know what I'm saying? But now...
Okay, but see, you talked about prison there for a second. There are people that come out of prison. They are what you call institutionalized.
That's why they want to go back.
Because they get used to the nanny state. They
Being
get used
care
to
of.
having everybody tell them when they're going to eat, when they're going to shower, when you're going to go to sleep. And so because of all that, they resent people who don't live by those restrictions.
But the reason I use the word prison is because literally when you get distracted so much in your own head, or when you're just, it doesn't have to be in your own head. You can be distracted by anything. Shit passes you by. You literally get passed by. And that happens to a lot of black folks in the sense that you're waging a war in your own mind. And next thing you know, you look up like, God damn, it's 5 years later. What the fuck did I accomplish? This racism is a distraction. Driving while black is so deep because, you're sitting here, you're living your best life, and all it takes is one incident to drive you back. Like I used to remember I've used the term nigger reminders. Like you can. I graduate college. I'm working for corporate America. I'm feeling great about myself, and I always say that I'm in a parking garage, and somebody sees me, then all of a sudden they go doo doo, like
message. Yeah,
I'm not gonna rob them, but there's niggers about. I need to lock my car door. Like, this motherfucker done walked all the way to the damn thing and like, oh, shit, it's a black guy. And then you think I'm a crime reminder? Like, it doesn't matter. I got my degree. I did this. I don't have a record. But when a white person sees me, all they can think about is,
look, before coronavirus, you'd be walking down the street or you'd be like going for a jog or some shit like that. And you'd be walking and you see a white person come in your direction. And if they make eye contact with you and they're not a cool person, they will step into the street about 2 feet into the street, walk around you, and get back onto the sidewalk but once you passed.
And gave you a wide berth.
A wide berth. So, but the problem with that is that the cool people, they'll actually speak to you. The cool white people are like, hey, what's up, buddy? And just keep walking. This motherfucker steps into the street. I mean, I think there might have been like one situation where I just stopped and I looked at the person. I was like, really? This is what we're doing?
Here's why I disagree with you. 'Cause some people talk to you because it's like when they pet a dog that's not theirs.
But you know what? I don't care. You know what? I'm not gonna like peel
you're
the
cordial.
I'm not gonna peel the layers of that onion. I don't give a shit about what that motherfucker's thinking about and why he's speaking to me. I don't give a shit. Hey, what's up? I just keep it moving. Like that's all that like deep third level down thinking. Fuck all that shit. I don't.
See, that's how you were raised.
It
You're cordial, but me on the other hand, sometimes like, look, don't talk to me. Look, I don't want to be your black friend. You understand that? Like, I don't want to be the person you use as an example.
Yeah.
And that's not me.
Look,
and
man,
so,
the old lady that speaks to me, you know what I'm saying, as I pass her on the street, I don't care if she, you know what I'm saying, you know, she just needs a good stabbing. I don't give a shit about none of that. I don't give a shit if she's lonely. I don't give a shit if like her kids don't talk to her. I don't give a shit. She just said hello. I said hello. We kept it moving. All the calculations, the mathematics that went on in between that don't matter. I'm talking about the motherfucker that clearly stepped away from me into the street, into harm's way, just to get away. Me. I'm like, what did you think? Like in that those 2 feet of stepping out, like what I can't reach out there and grab you or like push you into oncoming traffic. Like you're like I got away now. Like what's wrong with you?
Hey, but I call it was like 97. I remember when this shit happened to me. I'm driving, and the person in the car next to me locks their door because they make eye contact with me, and I'm like to myself, like, okay, there's 2 cars. I can't drive both cars. I'm not gonna like break into your car and drive a block, come back and get my car, drive 2 blocks and get your car. I can't drive both cars. Like your car is not even better than my car. So you know, like I said, I hate D.L. Hughley, but the deepest thing a nigga ever said was the most dangerous place for black folks is in a white person's mind. Because in your mind, I'm superhuman, obviously, because you got me doing shit that I can't possibly do. And I appreciate that. You know, I just wish you would do that shit when it came to business. Like, hey, this nigga right here, super nigga. He'll solve all our problems, and I'll pay him a lot of money. But no, it's about crime. It's about intimidation. It's about physicality. It's about like shit. My girl dated a black guy in college. You know, I'm like, stop. You know, don't put that burden on me. Your problems aren't the best. This is the difference between racism, bigotry, and prejudice. I'm a black person. I can be bigoted. I can be prejudiced, but I can't be racist because I cannot control what happens to you. I will not call the police on you. I cannot dictate anything to do with where you live and how much money you make and those kinds. That's racism. That's that shit that unseen hand that fucks with you. That racism is an action. You know, it's a super motherfucking verb, my nigga. But all the other shit, that prejudice, I fuck.
Know the difference. Know the difference between the two.
And it's really hard to distinguish.
I had to remind a white person of that word, prejudice.
They don't use it no more.
Listen,
it's out of style.
Yeah, because he was just going on ranting and raving about, you know, people being victims and like racism. I'm like, well, okay. I said, all right, well, clearly you're prejudiced. What? Oh man, that was like I just threw a bucket of cold water on him. I said, hey, it's okay. You have the right to be prejudiced. No problem. Everybody's prejudiced in some way. They have bias in some way. There's some shit you don't like. You know, you don't want a black motherfucker standing on your porch when you get home. I get that. Okay. Okay. But racist? I don't think so. I said, because you don't have enough power to oppress me. But you can be prejudiced. Absolutely, 100%. Go ahead and enjoy your prejudice and relish your prejudiced ways. No problem. But racism, I think you're really like just puffing yourself bigger than you really are. Like, you know,
like you're not a whole society.
To call yourself a racist, you're selling wolf tickets.
Yeah, look. Here's the situation. Most of those black people you encounter in white areas or in areas where niggas don't belong, they're prejudiced because they have a bloated self-image.
See, that's the whole thing about niggas don't belong. I will go wherever I feel like on this planet Earth, especially in the United States, because my ancestors built this place. It was stolen from part of my ancestors, so I don't give a shit. I will go wherever the fuck I feel like. And like this entitlement making you think that you have the right to tell me where I can and cannot be. Well, buddy, That's, consider how far you want to push that. Yeah, that might be hazardous to your health.
Yeah, don't put your hands on me, nigga. But I think that it's really hard for black folks to even elaborate on the situation. Like, and if what happens whenever you're an intelligent black man or woman and you demand respect, you're uppity. Or when you're a black woman, like, oh man, she's catty, or they label you. Those labels are actually degrading. Those labels are literally what puts you in a box. And then sometimes it's harder for sisters. Sometimes in corporate America, like if a woman speaks up, you're argumentative, and I'm like, she's simply. I've seen white women storm off, slam doors, do all kinds of crazy shit. But then the guy engages the black woman and says, "Can you remain professional?" And I'm like, I'm representing this chick. I said, wait. I said, your employee is the one that hasn't been professional. I'm like literally explaining, and I said that's racist, and hey, I disagree. And of course, there's a black guy chimes in like, look, I didn't ask you for your opinion. I observed the shit. I know what the fuck I saw. And then the black woman goes, don't play the race card. I'm like, what race card? Like literally, there's an incident where somebody engages you, they put their hands on you, and it's the white lady, but you're going to ask the black person, can they remain professional when it was the white person that was unprofessional? Like literally, I was in bizarro world, and I'm like, how come I'm the only one who sees it clearly? And I got two black people telling me that I'm wrong. I'm like, nah, nigga, shoot.
So how did that situation pan out?
In the long run or the short run? Because okay, in the short run, they sent the white lady to class, and I'm like, why do you need a class not to hit a nigga? What kind of class can you send? And then the black lady later on, I told her, I said, so literally, I'm walking to the room with her because they called me. I'm the union rep. It was a Saturday morning, and I'm telling
that black woman that was being harassed told you not to play the race card.
That is correct.
Oh my God, the sunken place.
That is correct. Now, here's where it gets complicated. This is the third time a manager has put their hands on this person. She's been at the company for a very long time. And I'm like, and one time I witnessed this.
Hold on.
I'm like,
so the black person has been accosted several times?
3 times, to be precise, yes.
Wait a minute. And what is she doing to make these white motherfuckers get out of pocket like this?
Oh, she is super annoying, my nigga. She will push your buttons. It's like, okay, let me explain something. She's from Chicago. Black woman from Chicago. See, y'all think about New York bitches as being like, oh my God. No, Chicago black women are different. They're difficult. And so she has a reputation. But the thing was, this day, she wasn't the problem. The manager was. And so because this is another thing that if you're a black person, because you've been difficult in the past, they never respect what's going on to you right now. What's happening to you right now, excuse me. And so as we're walking to the room, I'm telling her in her ear, call the police. This is assault. Call the police. I'm saying here, just stop this meeting. And I can't say it out loud because I got these 2 managers who are escorting us to the room. And I'm like, call the police. Just walk off and call the police. Go dial 911. Now, we get in the room, yada, yada, yada. This manager had hit her in the back because she would not turn around and listen to her. It was a female white manager, got frustrated with a black lady. And
the black woman kept turning her back on her.
Oh, the black woman wouldn't respond because she was working. She's like, look, you got to understand, this subdivision is melting down. This is a whole area where we don't have enough manpower. And guess what? The person that hit her was Calamity Jane.
Okay.
So the situation, and the reason I'm telling her to call the police because I'm like, look, this is assault. This is not. If somebody hit me at work, I don't care who you are. If you're a black person, I know it's hard for you to understand this. Do not hit them back. Follow your ass over, start crying, PR yourself, sue them people. And that's what I'm trying to say. This is a suing event, and I'm trying to like, look, you need to, again. The reason this is what we mean by psychic swamp. Like literally, she's worried about her job when the other person wronged her, and I'm trying to convey that message. Like I'm gonna do my job as a union rep, but I'm trying to explain to you like, now this is not, certain things are not union issues. You understand what I'm saying? There are certain things that take place between these walls. This is not a union issue because if you was in a store and a motherfucker ran up and hit you in the back, what would you do? Me and you would probably fight, but if that person is an employee of that store and they hit you, I'm falling over my shopping cart, my nigga. I'm knocking shit over. I'm flopping like LeBron, my nigga. Like, oh, 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 you know. And so this is one of these situations where I'm trying to explain to her in certain terms, but I can't sit here and like, hey. So we get in the room. You got this is the time. You got 3 black people, 1 white person. But this is when you realize how powerful white people are. And I don't subscribe to it, but I'm like, look, I called him on his bullshit. I said, literally, you just asked my employee if she can remain professional when yours could not. Not once did you say that these to her. I said, that's racism. And like, so the black man is like, that's not racist. Then the person I'm representing say, don't play the race card in front of the white man. I'm like, okay, look, what just took place, if the shoe had been on the other foot and you had struck that person, you would not have a job now, would you? This person struck you out of frustration, out of lack of training, out of just does not respect you as a human, because she would not have done that to anybody else. And so, again, they end up sending the white girl to training. Nothing really happened. Then here's the dumb part. 2 days later, the black chick calls the police and tries to do a police report. I'm like, you fucking retard. How you literally waited too long. There's nothing left. If you had to address this issue the day it happened, like I tried to tell you to, you would have been fine. That's literally assault. But waiting 2 and 3 days later to call the police, you can't do that. This ain't no Scooby-Doo, my nigga. You can't. They're not going to look for anything. They're just going to tell you like, hey, this shit's unsupported, and that's just exactly what they did. So I think that being black in a situation, sometimes you're a victim of the situation. I'm not saying you're a victim as in it's happening to you. You're a victim from past experience, and you can't let go of that shit. You can't relinquish that shit. You can't let go of the past. And sometimes some of these situations exist completely on their own. And you have to be in the here and now and recognize what to do and not worry about what happened to you in the past. You need to, like, where we are right now, this situation, this motherfucker, you was just hit by a manager. You should be suing this company. You should have fell the fuck over and hit your head on the goddamn desk. I'm just trying to tell you, like, flop, my nigga. Y'all need to know when to flop, and that bitch should have flopped. That's all I'm saying.
Well, there's a famous saying that familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes, that's deep.
And some of these psychic swamps, they're not related to race at all. Some of these psychic swamps are in relationships, and how a person could get used to doing things a certain way with your mate to the point that it becomes old hat. And so when you start taking a person for granted, and for example, when the sex dries up, that is the quickest entry into a psychic swamp. You have to keep your sex life healthy, because if you don't, if you're not always working on yourself, if you're not trying to improve your physicality, if you don't want to extend your libido and your staying power, you have to do this, because if not, you will find yourself in a psychic swamp where you will have all types of crazy things being thrown around and said, and people are really just angry because they're not getting what they want.
Satisfied. They're not satisfied.
Yes. Look, man, I have been in a relationship before, and, this chick swore that pussy was solid gold, and all she had to do was the bare minimum.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. Here's something that people don't understand. So when I use this term, I'm not being racist, sexist, or anything else. Look, you have good sex and you got good pussy, and people don't understand the difference. See, you can teach good sex, you can learn good technique, but you can't teach good pussy. Now, you can do some kegels, but some of that good pussy is a God-given gift. That shit was created by the man upstairs or the woman upstairs or whatever. That shit.
Okay, but see, this is where I disagree with you, because
proceed.
Good pussy is only one part of the equation.
I agree. I'm saying, okay, it's like a basketball player. You can't teach height. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but at the same time, you're only going to get so much mileage out of those championship rings.
Yeah, but you got to learn technique. Kareem had technique. Wilt had technique. You got a lot of tall motherfuckers that didn't turn into shit. Sean Bradley, Manute Bol. You know what I'm saying? It's not just but when you got good technique, and good pussy, nigga, I'm there. The head right, Biggie there every night. You know what I'm saying?
So right, but here's the thing though, man. It's a lot of people find themselves in this situation because that's why a lot of relationships end. Dude,
oh yeah,
think about this. A lot of relationships end because the sex dries up, or because one of those people is so greedy sexually they cannot they cannot formulate a way to get what they want from their mate. So like, fuck it, I'm gonna get this from somewhere else.
Okay, hold it. You saying some deep shit, so you need to elaborate on three things.
Okay,
One,
okay, wait, whoa. I will. So part of this greediness is it means that person is not willing to sacrifice their ego or satisfying their ego with conquest over growing and nurturing and becoming a better mate with what you have. You know, it's like, okay, it's a funny saying, eat what you got. Okay, that's the only pussy you got. You got to eat what you got. You know what I'm saying? But this is the thing though. Love the one you with. That's another one. That's another song. So, but the deal with that is, man, is that you have to figure out if that person is being good to you, and that person reciprocates everything that you're getting, everything that you're putting out, then, and you want to try other shit and like, hey man, find a way to get your cookies from that person.
Okay, here's the part. There's two things where when nobody, I gotta say this shit correctly. I don't want to say it dumbly. Like literally, you have to if success is your goal, you'll do whatever it takes to be successful. But are you settling? If you're literally in a relationship that's unhealthy, you don't want to be there. There's a difference between working towards your success and settling. You have to,
right, but you have to be able to look at that person and see a trajectory, meaning this person has the potential to meet me at the zenith, or am I have to drag this motherfucker to the zenith?
Yeah, one hand can't clap, so you got to drag this motherfucker to where we're going. Right. And so when I say this, here's how there's different examples. Like literally, sometimes a motherfucker goes to the path of least resistance. So you at work and some chick is flirting with you, and you end up fucking her, and you don't even know if you do a good job. You're just fucking somebody else. Like you ain't making the pussy at home come. So why the fuck you run out getting some more?
But see, there's another thing. Like, even if you're not in a relationship, you gotta like when it's just some fucking, you need to see it for what it is, just some fucking, and not get attached. But see, that's a nuanced thing, and you have to know how to read the terrain. It takes years to learn these things. You don't learn this shit right away.
Don't be doing love shit in your fucking. There are certain moves that you do. That's a love move, my nigga. Like here's what happens. If you hit that right button in that bitch, she gonna call you daddy, and she gonna be like, oh my god, like I didn't mean to do that. I've had a chick apologize. I didn't mean to say that to you. Like shit, nigga, I'm doing my.
You hit the pressure point. You hit the pressure point.
You hit that button, and she either went to the love or she went to the oh my god. This is some familiar shit, and so you got to understand that that's the power. See, sex is such a big part of the relationship because you're at your most vulnerable point. You're exposed, so you want people to reciprocate. You want a positive reaction. Now, here's the deal. If you lie on either side, you got to be honest with that person. Like, hey, you did a good job. You didn't do a good job. Or, hey, what's our goal here? Hey, you didn't last long enough. Go work on your cardio. And we'll fuck around to some, be honest with yourselves, and schedule some time so you can get to know each other. Because simply having sex with somebody does not mean you know them or their body or what they need or don't need. Y'all don't know what stress is. Being poor is stressful.
Right. But see, each one of those becomes part of this bigger psychic swamp. And so in closing, the psychic swamp manifests in different ways, but it's important that you become aware of it. And at some point you get your ass up out of there and that you are healed from it and you're not damaged. Get that mud off your boots. Wipe the mud off your feet before you come in the house. That's all I'm saying. And another thing is that your stay there or your time there is something that's temporary and not for the duration of your life. So rise up out of that swamp and better yourself. Don't stay in the fucking swamp. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.